Hello YouTube. It's been 4 months since I did, or something like that anyways, I don't remember the exact time. But it's been a while since I did the intro to the Homestead video, and I kind of wanted to just give you guys an update on how things went. What I'm going to do is just kind of show the 1 or 2 things I did in the front yard, which isn't much, and then I'm going to show you what I did in the backyard, which is quite a bit more, and I'm going to kind of explain to you exactly how everything we did worked out. But anyways, it's going to start now. Obviously the last video I didn't have as much stuff to brag about because we were just starting things. Right here in the front yard, there used to be a stump right there. We picked up a smoke tree, which we planted, and that is a mole chaser. We have a crap load of moles around here. This is of course the front of the house. And a lady that I work with actually gave me a small cutting of a potato vine, and it has grown and done extremely well. It was literally like a twig with 6 or 7 leaves, and that's only been about a month and a half ago. We're pretty happy with that. Not that it really produces anything, but it's still really neat, and it kind of shows the relationship I'm developing with some of my coworkers. It's pretty cool. But work our way around, and the fence. Of course the compost bin, which I showed you last time too, but we actually went through and we put up a fence covering the whole backyard, and it took a while to completely finish it, but you can see it going to the gate all the way over there to the edge to where I put those pallets up. But yeah, that actually ended up being a necessity because you can see them way out there. But one of the neighbor's horses, it's not that one, but it's one of them, kept getting into our yard. He kept escaping somehow. Happened 3 or 4 times, and one of the times it was digging around in our garden, and we ended up having to chase it off. It took about an hour and a half for us to get it off our property. So we decided putting up a fence would be a prudent idea. But there's 2 pepper plants over here that did fairly well. They haven't grown real big, and with it cooling down, they're really not doing very well. But right there, we actually had quite a battle out here with our tomatoes. They've gotten attacked multiple times. You can tell with how rough they're looking. But, I mean, as you can see, they're still producing, and they're actually producing quite a lot still. It doesn't look like it right now, but these things were a huge, massive bush up until basically about a month ago. They got attacked one after another. It was tomato hornworms and blister beetles, and I don't even know what else. There was a couple others that I dug around like crazy online trying to figure out what they were, and I just could not figure it out. But anyways, there's peppers, and there's actually a couple more peppers, and you can kind of see a trunk there. That's from a lettuce plant that got huge. I mean, a couple of them we let keep growing just to see how big they'd get. Got about 2 to 3 feet high, and they did pretty awesome. And of course down here we actually planted some dill, and even though we cut them, some of them got so tough that even though we cut it completely down to the roots, you can see here, that little fella popped up out, and it's doing pretty well. The hugelkultur mound, goodness, this thing produced so many freaking cucumbers. I can't even describe to you how great it did. Goodness, at a guess, I'd say that we probably had 80 to 90 pounds of cucumbers, maybe even more than that. I don't even know, but there was a lot. Right over here, directly in between the first raised bed we put in and the hugelkultur mound, my wife actually planted a bunch of cantaloupes and watermelons. Well, they ended up not doing real well, but they did grow very vibrantly, and it was pretty cool keeping an eye on them, seeing how they did. And over here is what's left of our 3 sisters garden. We've already cut down all the corn stalks because they already produced and died on us. We got about 40, well maybe not quite 40, maybe closer to 30 ears of corn out of it, and the ears of corn were really good. The beans, some of the beans are actually still going. You can kind of see right in there, or beans or peas, I can't remember which. And there's actually some more kind of down in there underneath those watermelon leaves. But our squash mounds, which were kind of here, sort of in the middle, they ended up getting eaten up real bad by squash beetles. And we were able to get some squash out of them, but we didn't notice the beetles until the plants were practically dead, because it was too hard to get back in them with how thick the beans and the corn were. It was just really hard for us to get back there, plus all of this overgrowth that came up because of how poorly the living mulch we decided to do was. We did not realize we were going to love squash so much, and so we really only planted like 2 mounds with it, and we did watermelon for the rest. And as you can see, the watermelon over here, that was one of the watermelon mounds. It's completely dead. And there's a watermelon mound right here at this corner that did almost nothing. You can see watermelon branches through here, but that is all from these other corners out here. But the 2 watermelon corners that exploded, as you can see, they got pretty big. I mean, I don't know how this is compared to normal, but some of these tendrils are a good 15 to 20 feet almost. It's just that they kind of coiled and followed around. We had a hard time kind of picking them out from each other, but they ended up blowing up. But anyways, continuing on over here to the new bed that we planted, I did a much smarter move. It took a whole lot less time to build this, but this is our little winter plot that we put together. We've got broccoli and cauliflower over here on the right, and right through here we've got carrots, having a brain fart, sorry. We've got carrots, spinach, lettuce, and one other thing that I'm kind of blanking on at the moment. And we went ahead and planted a little basil right there, and my wife put a basil right there because they were given to us by that same lady from work that gave us that potato vine up front. And that's actually a basil too. We're hoping it'll come alive. We waited too long to actually plant them. And I don't know if you heard that beeping away, but we have a mole chaser back here too. And back here, we planted a few tomatoes, but we waited quite a while to put them in. And they were just starting to really take off whenever the summer started hitting. But we've got a couple of tomatoes right there. And right here is our blueberry bush that we picked up. We got a real good deal on it on clearance. It was almost nothing. And it's actually tripled in size, maybe a little more, since we got it. And I'm not going to go through the fence since I'm kind of dealing with only one hand. But our apple tree is actually doing a lot better. It's actually pushing 8 feet tall now. And moving over here, this is the peach tree that we planted. It actually hasn't grown a whole lot, but it's gotten through. I don't know if it's just having a harder time rooting or not, because I mean it's kind of in the open. There's nothing to really give it any shade until the sun's basically about to set. While you can kind of see over there that apple, once it hits about, well, even in the height of summer, by the time it hit about 5:30 to 6, it was getting some shade. We don't know how much of it was, how much of the issues with both, the differences in how they're growing. Don't know how much of it was influenced by that. But anyways, that is the little Irish setter dogwood that I planted, and it's actually not doing great either. So it's kind of been hit and miss, but we're pretty excited about the stuff that actually has worked out, and we're pretty happy with how things have gone overall. I want to reiterate again that the hugelkultur stuff that I talked about has been awesome. It's done really well to help keep everything planted, and that's a technique that I'm going to keep using. I don't care if some people are saying, oh, there's better ways to do it now. I'm still going to do it. If it's something where I'm going to have to do some digging anyways to do something, I'm just going to throw rotten logs in there anyway. I mean, people are kind of coming around to saying the whole planting beans things is easier, but the way I see it, if I'm already doing a lot of digging to plant some stuff somewhere, there's no reason not to just dig a little deeper and throw something like that in there just to get it jump started. But anyways, this was kind of spur of the moment. I didn't decide to do it until like 2 minutes before. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learn a little something from it. Feel free to ask away. I mean, what it comes down to is I'm a complete noob at this stuff. My wife and I both are actually just figuring stuff out still. Like, for example, in this mound, there were carrots we forgot about.